Hi guys, there's a shift happening right now, and it's not loud. Men everywhere are done playing the game. They're basically done giving away their power, and I don't believe this comes from hate, but I do believe it comes from exhaustion. See, for years, men have been trained to perform for approval that never lasts. Every smile, every compliment, every small little itty bitty dose of validation became a leash. Now they see the pattern for what it actually is, and they're cutting the cord. Men are beginning to understand that peace means more than acceptance. They've watched themselves shrink to please everyone, especially women who measured interest by control. When you chase approval, you teach people to undervalue you. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner proved decades ago that unpredictable rewards create obsession, and modern culture has weaponized that idea. Social media turned male attention into free labor. A few likes, a few replies, enough to keep men addicted to the chase. But that system only works on the man who needs constant feedback. Once he learns restraint, the cycle dies. And that's why I wrote Attraction Secrets. It breaks down the behavioral triggers behind modern attraction so you can lead with confidence instead of guessing. After this video, go grab it. The link is in the description. Now let's get into it. You can feel this shift everywhere. Men are angry, but they are aware. They're starting to realize the most powerful move is sometimes nothing at all. Silence, detachment, direction. That's how real authority sounds. And I see it happening quietly. A man stops explaining himself. Another goes to the gym instead of arguing online. One more deletes the thread, not to prove a point, but because he's done begging for respect. Each small act of discipline builds momentum, and that momentum is contagious. You felt it, the difference between chasing and choosing. Chasing drains you, but choosing fuels you. This is that moment in history where men are finally choosing. Society told you to tone down masculinity, to lead with softness, to apologize for having a spine. You tried it, and you saw where it led. Confusion, resentment, meaningless connections. Now, the course is correcting. The new masculine energy is built on composure, not compliance anymore. Men understand that a man grounded in his emotions becomes hard to manipulate, and that's what strength looks like. Think about relationships. Every single man has lived this story. You gave loyalty, and she lost interest. You doubled effort, she offered less. You pleaded for clarity, and respect disappeared. That moment hurts because it exposes reality. Effort without boundaries teaches people to take more. Once you understand that, you stop explaining. You stop chasing closure. You walk away, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. That single decision changes everything, because clarity is always going to be louder than anger, and boundaries speak without words. This awakening isn't loud, but it's happening in real time, in gyms, offices, quiet apartments. Men are reclaiming focus one decision at a time, because they understand when you withdraw your energy from chaotic situations, you shift the balance of power immediately. Women feel it, everyone around you feels it. Centuries of biology already prove that rarity attracts investment. A man who values his attention becomes very rare. A calm presence triggers interest because composure signals survival. That's the evolutionary edge most men forgot they even had. Here's the real reason why this matters. The modern world profits immensely from distracted men. I mean, look around. Every platform feeds you outrage, fear, desire, lust. Because calm doesn't sell, outrage sells, confusion sells, comparison sells. A grounded man breaks that economy. He buys less, scrolls less, argues less. That's why rediscovering discipline is revolutionary. When you control your attention, you control your life. I think that every man remembers the moment he reached his limit, when he realized begging for validation only drained him further and he ended up with less. That moment was anything other than weakness. It was actually clarity disguised as pain. From that point forward, you had a choice. Keep feeding what drained you or rebuild from silence. The men who choose silence are shaping the next era. They're done trying to convince people to value them. They live in a way that demands value. Women are noticing because the ones drawn to games feel lost without reaction. The ones craving peace start to lean into you because emotional calmness creates safety, and safety creates desire. Evolutionary psychologist David Buss calls this dominance plus loyalty, the combination that drives long-term attraction. Men who embody both become the foundation women test for stability. That's why steadiness is seductive. It signals control, not coldness. But let's be honest, the future belongs to the men who no longer need constant reassurance. When you stop explaining, stop pleading, stop performing, you create a power vacuum that pulls respect towards you. Validation loses power the moment you stop chasing it. Control turns into a requirement, not an option. And people start responding differently because they'll notice. When men start changing silently, the culture starts shaking loudly. Every movement in history began the same way. People stop responding to control. That's the moment we're in now. For decades, media trained men to measure value through approval. Movies, ads, talk shows, songs, same rule on repeat. Prove yourself and you'll be loved. Proof became a trap. Once love requires proof, it turns into labor. Men are realizing peace isn't earned through performance. performance. Peace comes from internal stability, an identity that doesn't collapse every time someone withdraws affection. Let me explain something. A well-known sociologist once said life is a stage. Every social interaction is a performance. If you always play a role, you'll lose the person behind it. Modern dating pushed men into that role. Be nice, hide frustration, avoid risk. Performance creates pressure. Pressure breeds resentment. Drop the act and everything changes. You stop chasing applause, you start seeking alignment. That's authentic power because it's presence over performance. Look at social media. Before, a man's reputation came from what he built. Now, it often comes from how many people notice him, how many followers he has, how many subs he has. Attention turned into currency. Where there's currency, there's manipulation. Every click, every follow, every picture was designed to trigger emotion. Men gave their attention freely because connection was the reward, but what they received was anxiety, an endless comparison loop that made them feel invisible, so they stopped. They're logging off more, posting less, redirecting focus to the tangible, businesses, training, purpose. This might look like withdrawal to some, but in reality, it's basically recentering. Research on human behavior shows people choose from emotion first and logic second. Live in a constant trigger cycle and logic disappears. Regaining power begins by separating those two again. You feel emotion, then you move when the logic agrees. That's how you become unshakable. Let's bring it back to relationships. When a man's self-worth depends on reaction, he stops leading and starts auditioning. And auditioning gives away control. Women test because they want stability before trust. React emotionally to every test and you prove instability. Remain calm and you prove leadership. That's the real dynamic under all the noise. Awakening doesn't mean ignoring emotions, it means mastering it. Because control is not suppression, it's basically understanding. You feel everything, but you choose what deserves your attention. That's emotional intelligence, real masculinity. As more men live this way, the culture is shifting. Marketing adjusts. Outrage-based influencers fade. Movies start showing grounded men again, men with purpose, not apology. And it won't happen overnight, but it is moving. Listen carefully because this flips what most men were taught. You were told strength equals aggression, but real strength lives in discipline. Aggression reacts, discipline decides. Aggression says, I'll show them. Discipline says, I don't need to. That difference rewrites your entire life. Stop trying to prove worth and everything built on weakness collapses. Toxic attachments, ego battles. What replaces it is peace that feels powerful, not passive. Picture this. 2 years from now, you walk into a room. You don't need to speak for people to notice. Your presence handles the introduction for you. It's not because you're louder than everyone, it's because you're stable. And stability is loud. Men respect you. Women feel safe near you. Even silence carries weight. That's what mastering focus creates. Leadership without shouting. This movement doesn't take anything away from women. It restores balance. When men ground themselves, women relax and fall in line. When both are grounded, relationships actually start to grow and flourish. Because masculine energy provides direction and feminine energy provides flow. When both exist in a mutual, respectful state, attraction becomes very easy to maintain. That's the future healthy men are trying to build. It's not easy because reprogramming takes time. People who thrived on the confusion will be lost. People that live on distraction will be left behind. That loss is freedom though. Every time you walk away from drama, you reinforce dominance over yourself. Confidence is built that way. Decision by decision, boundary by boundary. That's what makes a man hard to replace. We're living in an era where clarity is rebellion, calm is rebellion, focus is rebellion. Every man who chooses these becomes a leader, even if he never says a word. And women see it first. They notice the stillness, they notice the confidence, they notice the calmness, and they test it. When it holds, they respect it. That's why this moment feels different. Men are not yelling back anymore. They're not stepping back. They're not cowering down. This silence signals evolution. Attraction runs on polarity. One lead and one follows. One creates direction, the other one brings motion. When men stop over-explaining and start embodying direction, the polarity resets. Relationships get clearer, boundaries get respected, desire grows stronger. Feminine energy softens when it feels safe. Nothing creates safety like a man who won't lose himself. You can see it everywhere. In business, the man who stays calm during chaos earns authority without even demanding it. In relationships, the man who listens more than he reacts builds trust faster than any words ever could. In social settings, the man who speaks less is often the one people turn toward. The same principle across the board. Calmness commands attention. Viktor Frankl said between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lives your power and your freedom. That space is where masculinity lives. Every test, every insult, every provocation, react immediately and you lose that space. But pause for a second and you reclaim it. That's real leadership, not in words, but in presence. Men who master that space reshape culture without even trying. Women adjust how they approach them, friends mirror their discipline. Even strangers strangers treat them differently. And if you're ready to embody these traits on demand, where it just becomes part of your mentality, grab my book, Attraction Secrets. The link is in the description. So with that being said, until the next video, I'll see you guys later. Bye.